She gave me a triumphant look. She looked as if she thought, I have an overwhelming advantage. What an annoying woman.
Give my regards to your husband. Try to get along for the rest of your lives.
What an insensitive and rude woman. This was just too much. She was not right as a person. I wanted to criticize her arrogant attitude head-on, but I held back. I wanted to give her a more fitting punishment. A punishment that would make her suffer, cry, and beg for forgiveness. I'm getting a divorce from my husband. He wants that too. Apparently, it's no fun for her that I don't show my emotions. She glared at me with an unusually aggressive look. I glared right back at her. There's no reason to be afraid of this woman. I'll knock her down to hell with all my might right now. I played my first card. My name is Kate, and I'm 41 years old. I work in sales administration at a certain trading company. I met my husband, Thomas, through a mutual friend. At that time, I was 29. He was 30. I can't believe you got a boyfriend. I remember my dad being surprised. My mom and dad thought I was too shy for marriage. To be honest, I was surprised myself. I thought I'd always be single. His forwardness was a godsend for a shy person like me.
I want 2 kids. A girl first, then a boy.
Yay, me too. Let's work hard together from now on. We were very happy when we were newlyweds. I thought this happiness would last forever. But where did it all go wrong? Gradually, Thomas' attitude toward me grew colder. What caused him to change? Was it because we couldn't have children? We both had fertility tests and found no issues. We tried to time it right, watch our diet, and did everything we could. Unfortunately, years passed and we still couldn't conceive. I wonder why. Even the clinic doctor was puzzled. I suggested trying artificial insemination to Thomas, but he said,
Let's just leave it to nature. No need to force it.
What's gotten into you? Don't you want kids anymore?
I didn't say that. I just said I want to leave it to nature.
Thinking back, his attitude towards me had already changed by then. He became extremely cold, and his words grew harsh. No matter how hard I tried to mend our relationship, he remained indifferent. No matter how much I tried, he never responded as cheerily as before. Hey, why don't we go on a trip next holiday? Remember, the resort hotel we stayed at a few years ago?
No, I can't. I have plans for the next break. Didn't I tell you? I have a business trip to another state.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that, sorry. He wouldn't even consider a trip or a meal out. It feels like he's lost interest in me a long time ago, was the impression I got. Soon, he started using only words like shower and dinner in front of me. It was like we were an old married couple. There was no conversation at all, and I became mostly silent too. Maybe something will change if we just had a child, I once thought, and took some action myself. For someone as reserved as me, initiating intimacy was a huge step. But the worst response came back. He snickered and mocked me even though he knew I was asking him to bed.
Sorry, I'm tired from work. I don't have the energy to deal with this.
Well, if that's the case, I won't force you. I can't forget the humiliation I felt when he refused. I was so scared and embarrassed to ask him to the bed since then. In cases where one spouse unilaterally refuses intimacy without any particular reason, divorce may be granted. I wanted to know why he was rejecting me, and asked him directly. Hey, don't you want kids anymore? Have you given up?
What are you talking about all of a sudden? I haven't thought that.
Then why are you so cold to me? Don't you see it's contradictory?
Hey, cut it out. You're being desperate and it's annoying.
He clicked his tongue and turned his back on me. Eventually, he stopped interacting with me altogether. When he was home, he'd just look at his smartphone or watch TV, never trying to talk. He wouldn't even make eye contact with me. Even words like shower and dinner stopped coming. When I called out, he ignored me, so I gradually stopped speaking to him too. My sighs became more frequent, and my loneliness just kept growing. What's the reason? I wondered, but I couldn't figure it out. He was having an affair. I found out about it around the 8th fall of our marriage. How did I know? Because I happened to see his smartphone. Usually, he took it with him even to the shower, but that day, he accidentally left it in the living room. There was an incoming call on it. The caller's name was Rachel. As far as I knew, there was no one by that name among his relatives or friends. Maybe someone from work, but it seemed too casual for such an important contact. Curious, I asked him straight after he got out of his shower. There was a call from someone named Rachel. Who is that?
It's nobody.
It's not nobody if you've saved the number, right?
It's none of your business. Don't make a fuss. I'm tired.
I fought. There it is again, I muttered to myself. He thinks if he says he's tired, I'll back down. It seemed he felt uncomfortable being pressed about this Rachel. That must mean she's his affair partner. It was as good as admitting it. I was incredibly upset, and I couldn't sleep well that night. A few days later, something incredibly painful happened. My dad, who lives back home, died in a car accident, a relative informed me. I had lost my mom to illness when I was in high school. Since then, it had been just my dad and me. Losing my precious dad deepened my grief. Yet my husband said,
I'm sorry, but I can't make it to his funeral. I have a business trip scheduled.
What? Just call your office and have someone cover for you.
It's too late for a replacement. It's impossible at this point. So, I can't go?
In the end, he really didn't come to the funeral. Even though it was his father-in-law who had passed. He clearly didn't care about my family, let alone me. It was painfully obvious, and it hurt so much. I must do something drastic to win back my husband's heart. That feeling drove me to a bold move. I then hired a private detective. I didn't care about the cost. I asked for a background check, and after about 2 months, I got the results. Using the information I obtained, I called his affair partner to meet. The place was a nice cafe on the first floor of a hotel. The woman who appeared was a striking beauty with an assertive air. "Nice to meet you. You must be Rachel."
You know who I am, don't you? So, what do you want?
"Please end your relationship with Thomas."
That's something you need to discuss with him. He's just my client.
Rachel was an alias for work. Her real name was Rebecca. She was paid to provide dubious sexual services to men. "I'm just meeting on a request. It's strictly business," Rebecca seemed to imply. Her attitude was indescribably infuriating.
Do you understand? Blaming me is misguided. And by the way, ma'am, have you reflected? Do you know why your husband would use a service like ours?
"Are you saying it's my fault?"
Who else could it be? He had to ask a professional because you weren't satisfying him, right?
What a brazen woman. But I couldn't respond. I had no idea how to counter her. Rebecca sneered at me as I looked down, then got up and strode away. I felt so miserable, and I couldn't hold back my tears. I think my husband must have heard about our meeting from Rebecca. His actions became even bolder and more frequent than before. He started staying out without prior notice and came home in the mornings more often. As his behavior changed, so did my reaction. I became indifferent, no longer upset about his late returns. Another late night must be nice. Were you with Rebecca, or should I say Rachel?
It's none of your business.
You can't just spend the night with another woman and then say it doesn't matter.
I'm tired. Stop nagging.
He retorted, brushing past me toward the shower. His body reeked of a cloying perfume. Rebecca must have smelled him on purpose when he left. That is her message to me. What a blatant provocation. She must be enjoying stirring me up. If it were years ago, I might have tried to fight the rivalry somehow. But now, I felt no such inclination. It's useless to fight, it'll just wear me out, I thought. I realized I no longer saw any charm in winning back my husband's affection. Honestly, let's just get a divorce. All this time, I avoided thinking about it. That's because I had a strong feeling we got married. Someday we will understand each other, I hoped. But now I felt it's hopeless, it's useless to keep trying. I felt pathetic for having dragged this on for 10 years. I prepared the divorce papers, had a friend fill out the witness section, and slowly started getting things in order. But then, what a strange thing life is. Just when I had made up my mind to divorce, another problem arose. My husband started complaining of his health issues. After some tests, it turned out he had cancer. Confined to a hospital bed for long-term treatment, he joked bitterly, "Looks like karma caught up with me."
It's because I made Kate suffer. How does that feel, Kate?
Stop talking nonsense. Just focus on your treatment. Honestly, if I said it didn't feel somewhat satisfying, it would be a lie. Though a part of me felt vindicated. I wasn't about to stoop to gloating to a sick person. I'll just dutifully care for him as his partner, I told myself. It was a little while after his illness came to light that I noticed something was off with my possessions. My mom's keepsake ring was missing. Upon further check, some of my necklaces and bags were also gone. I brought it up while bringing him clothes to the hospital, asking him, "Have you seen them or taken them by any chance?"
I don't know anything about it. I've never touched your things without your permission.
When was the last time you communicated with Rebecca?
You think Rebecca took them? No way. I haven't heard from her in about half a year.
He said it was unlikely, but I couldn't think of anyone else. It seemed he really didn't know. So, I'd have to check with her myself. And just in case, I had taken all possible precautions. It's a hassle because it takes time, but I resolved to check when I got home. Depending on what I found, I might have to consult the police or a lawyer. A month later, Thomas was scheduled for surgery. The doctor turned pale when he saw his body, I heard from a nurse. I was surprised when the nurse told me about it. I hadn't seen my husband undressed for a long time, so I didn't notice it at all. I never thought his body would end up like this. I heard the detailed story from the nurse and took notes. I called Rebecca the next day. The place was a different cafe from last time. It was bigger and more crowded. Rebecca arrived with the same confidence as before. She had a defiant attitude. Her face said, "I've done nothing wrong."
What brings you here today? I'd prefer if we could keep this brief.
That depends on you. By the way, did you already know Thomas has cancer?
Yes, I heard from him. He said he was feeling unwell and hadn't contacted me for a while. Then suddenly he tells me this. I was shocked.
I see. His surgery was successful, so I thought I'd let you know. Good for him, Rebecca laughed, seemingly indifferent. That makes sense. To her, Thomas is just another client. Even if they seemed close, it was probably just superficial. Not getting too emotionally involved with clients is Rebecca's work stance, I suppose. She seemed to be getting a bit mischievous. Rebecca looked up at me with a teasing glance.
Hey, why don't you sleep with your husband one more time before he passes away? You know, humans try to leave descendants at their last moment.
Please stop. That's very insensitive to say.
But it's true, right? You've been through a lot because you couldn't have kids. Why not take a last chance? You might get lucky.
Rebecca laughed out loud. For the first time, I felt a clear hostility towards her. I'm going to make her regret this, I thought strongly. Can we get to the point, Rebecca? You were having more than a professional relationship with Thomas, weren't you? Basically, you were having an affair, right?
Not at all. It was strictly business.
Really? I think a lawyer will contact you.
That would be a waste. I've dealt with similar situations before. It's really annoying. It's strictly business.
Rebecca was smiling, but I noticed something different. The smile she had just a moment ago was gone. There was a slight stiffness. She was definitely lying. It was clearly a forced smile. You're lying, aren't you? If you get a call from a lawyer, aren't you in trouble?
Not at all. You're being persistent. Don't people tell you that you're troublesome?
Such an irritating woman. She seems to think she's overwhelmingly superior. But I can tell now. This confident attitude is just a facade. The real Rebecca is wrapped up in things she wouldn't want people to know about. You might still have a chance if you admit to the affair with Thomas and apologize me now. That's the least damaging path for you.
Don't act like you know everything. You're a failed wife who can't satisfy her husband. I hate it when flawed women like you act all high and mighty.
If that's how you feel, I have no choice. I'll let your husband, James, know everything.
Why bring James into this?
Yes, Rebecca is married. She had hidden the fact that she was married from Thomas. And she must have thought I only knew what Thomas told me. However, I had hired a detective agency to investigate Rebecca and my husband's relationship and, of course, Rebecca's background. She was indeed married. She has been married to James for 5 years. As soon as her marriage was mentioned, Rebecca lost her composure. Her breathing became erratic. "What's wrong? Your breathing is rough. Why don't you calm down?"
That's problem. A lawyer would be problematic. My husband doesn't know anything about my job. Please don't tell him. He's not involved. It's a problem between you, me, and Thomas, right?
Are you serious? Do you think I'm just going to say okay? Don't underestimate me. I'm not that naive. Our roles had reversed. Sweating, Rebecca was clearly shaken. She had no idea how much I knew. She probably never thought I would fight back this much. She must have underestimated me as a clumsy and quiet woman. To be honest, I'm quite surprised myself. I've never known myself to be this assertive in public before. It must be because my anger is so intense. Rebecca herself gave me the chance to change. After all, she did something she absolutely shouldn't have. I leaned forward and glared at Rebecca. "I'm very angry with you. Not only did you have an affair with Thomas, but you've also committed a crime. You know what I'm talking about, right?"
What? I don't understand.
"Don't play dumb. You stole my mom's keepsake ring, didn't you?" The other customers at nearby tables began to glance over at us. Rebecca slumped, looking down and curling up as if shrinking. Her posture was as good as a confession. I did not ease up on her. "You entered my room without my permission and stole my bags and necklaces, right?"
That's not true. Those were. Thomas said it was okay to borrow.
"All lies. I checked with Thomas, and he had no idea that my mom's ring was missing. Why don't you just give up and be honest?" I pointed my smartphone screen at her. Rebecca turned pale immediately. No wonder. The screen showed her rummaging through my room. Her posture was pathetic, resembling that of a petty thief. Ever since I suspected Thomas' actions, I've installed cameras and voice recorders all over our home. I've gathered quite some interesting evidence.
No, really, cameras. Where did you put them?
All over the house, including our bedroom. Unfortunately for you, they also captured you and Thomas doing something in our bedroom. If I submit this evidence to the police, Rebecca's guilt will be certain. She would likely face a fine for theft. Rebecca was already on the verge of tears. She clasped her hands together, pleadingly looking at me.
Please, I'll retrieve the ring and return it to you for sure. So please, don't tell James. I'm really in trouble. He knows nothing.
Damn, you're a bitch. You sold my mom's ring, my necklaces and bags too. Unbelievable. I'll need to hear more about that later.
I'm sorry, but I really will retrieve them, so please, keep this from James. Please.
Unfortunately, it's too late for that, because I pointed behind Rebecca. With a stunned face, Rebecca turned around. Unbeknownst to her, sitting at the table behind us was her husband, James. Rebecca gasped. Why in dismay? But the person who deserved more pity was James. He knew nothing until I contacted him. He had thought of Rebecca as a quiet and virtuous wife.
Rebecca, I'm shocked. You were cheating and you were doing that kind of job. Wasn't my earnings enough for you?
No, that's James. Listen,
Rebecca, or should I say Rachel, you're the queen, right? You've been pleasing many men behind my back during the day. I'm shocked.
James, it's not like that.
Rebecca finally began to cry. It seemed painful for her to have everything known by her husband. In fact, Rebecca was well known in her establishment for her dominatrix play. She was skilled at exciting men by tying them up and whipping them. The doctor was shocked when he saw my husband's back. It was because there were multiple marks from being whipped. I didn't know about such preferences of Thomas until he confessed to me.
I believed in you and it hurt me a lot. I couldn't believe the cheating, the queen play, or the theft. But is it all true?
It's not. I'm sorry. But it's not like that.
What's not true? Everything is true, isn't it? Just admit it. While I felt sorry for James, Rebecca needed to acknowledge her sins. Her job as a dominatrix didn't matter. And there are two problems. The issues were the affair and the theft. Let's go to the police station together, I suggested, but Rebecca clung to the table, refusing.
No, I absolutely won't go. I'll stay put right here, no matter what.
You're really bad at giving up. Cut it out already.
If you keep being selfish, I'll have to resort to my next step. Do you really want to worsen your situation even more?
What are you talking about?
The screen showed a man about our age. She must realize it deep down. She has other secrets she wouldn't want exposed. If only she would be honest sooner, I wouldn't have to do this. I pointed my smartphone screen at Rebecca again.
Hey, Rebecca, I heard it. What's this about? You were married.
Damn it, Mark. No way. How do you know about Mark?
His name is Mark. He was another of Rebecca's lovers. He had a relationship with her before Thomas and was discarded earlier. And it wasn't just a simple breakup. He had been treated harshly by Rebecca. Sorry, but I'm thorough. I've investigated everything. I found out you borrowed a large sum of money from Mark and ran off.
You borrowed money and ran away? Rebecca, you did that too?
Rebecca, you better pay back the $25,000 I lent you.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Rebecca wasn't just any dominatrix. She was a dominatrix with extravagant spending habits. She would form personal and intimate relationships with her clients to extract money from them. If not that, she'd steal valuable items. and then she'd turn those items into cash. My mom's keepsake ring had been stolen while Thomas was in the shower. I figured it out by cross-referencing footage from different cameras at the same time. Days no mistake. When I explained this, Rebecca probably thought there was nothing more she could do and began to cry.
I'm truly sorry. I really apologize.
I'm sorry isn't enough, is it? I'm going to call the police now.
Please do not that. I'll do anything.
That's not the point. You need to atone for your crimes properly. There might be even more to Rebecca's crimes. I can say for sure there aren't other men who were victimized by her before Mark, I said, and James sighed heavily. I can't take this anymore, his expression said.
Let's get a divorce, Rebecca. I can't do this with you anymore.
James, no. Don't say that. Don't leave me.
It's inevitable. How can a man continue a marital relationship knowing his partner has had sexual relations with other men regularly? I can't handle it.
No, I absolutely won't get a divorce.
Rebecca's voice was tearful, but no matter how much she resisted, it was probably futile. The things she had done were seriously malicious, including criminal acts. If the argument escalated and we went to court, the divorce would likely be granted. Rebecca's desperate resistance might be because she realizes this. James turned to me and apologized.
Kate, I am truly sorry for what has happened. I promise you, Rebecca and I will find your mother's keepsake ring and return it to you. Rebecca, apologize properly.
Yes, Kate, I'm sorry.
All right, please make sure to return the ring and pay Mark back. Also, go to the police station on your own and explain everything properly. Rebecca slumped over the table and started crying. The other customers and staff at the cafe looked over, wondering what was happening. It was a pitiful sight, but honestly, I thought it served her right. She had caused too much suffering to those around her. This level of hardship was only fair. Afterward, James promised Mark that he would definitely repay the money. Thus, our discussion, disrupted by Rebecca's actions, came to a temporary close. A few days after our exchange at the cafe, I received a message from James. He had managed to buy back the ring from the buyer and would send it to me later. I was grateful for his prompt response. My mom would have been pleased too.
Rebecca and I are officially divorced. She put up quite a fight, but after appearing at the police station, she quieted down. She probably didn't want to cause any more trouble.
Where is she now? At the police station?
No, she was fine and is probably back in her hometown now. It's a small rural town. She came to the downtown area because she hated her local area, but
she's going back to her hometown, which she hated. James ended up paying Mark's debt in place of Rebecca. Now, Rebecca is slowly repaying James. She has taken a part-time job at a local supermarket. It's unclear when she will finish paying off her debts. I hope she manages to pull through. James also shared more about Rebecca. When they divorced, he refused to split any property with her.
She cheated, accrued debt, played the role of a dominatrix. I honestly didn't want to share any property with someone who did all that behind my back.
So, you refused the division of property. Normally in a divorce, the property acquired during the marriage is split equally between both parties, right?
Yes, she insisted on half, so it ended up going to court.
Unfortunately, James's argument was rejected. Regardless of the reasons, property division cannot be refused, was the verdict. However, Rebecca is guilty of cheating and theft. Those facts about her never go away. Ultimately, she was ordered to pay James compensation in the form of alimony and damages. As a result, the property left to Rebecca was significantly reduced. She was reportedly furious and distraught, crying, "This is unbelievable." But it was simply karma. She should just work hard and repay the remaining debt to James as soon as possible, I thought.
By the way, Kate, what happened with Thomas, who was ill?
Yes, I also got divorced. He told me, "You don't need to come to the hospital anymore." I suppose that was his way of showing remorse, in his own way. His surgery was successful. However, there's no guarantee that cancer won't be found again in the future. He told me he didn't want to cause any more trouble, and that I didn't need to visit him anymore. I'll never forget the look in his eyes as he gazed into the distance on our last visit. It was then that he signed the divorce papers. "Thank you, I'll go file these. I don't think I'll be coming here anymore." "Are you really sure about this?"
Yeah. Forget about me. I'm sorry, Kate.
"Then, goodbye." That was the last time I saw my ex-husband. In a way, his severe illness is already a form of punishment. I have no intention of blaming him any further. But I will never see him again. The actions of one woman, driven by greed, brought misery to many people. I am one of those victims. Even now, it makes me incredibly angry. However, I was able to administer a fitting punishment and saw her crying face. I could also impose social sanctions, and I think, for now, this is good enough. About 6 months after the divorce, I started dating someone new. He was introduced by a client's boss and is quite handsome. He's also divorced, so there's no need to be cautious, which is good. I don't know if we'll marry, but I hope we can continue this pleasant relationship. It doesn't have to be tied down by marriage. There are many forms of happiness. I want to find our own way with my new partner, step by step. Right now, I am living each day with a generous spirit.